Welcome to North of the Broad. I'm your host, Robin Zimmerman. We're here at the Pat Conroy Literary Center in downtown Beaufort. We have a wonderful show planned for you today, so stay tuned. Welcome to North of the Broad. I'm your host, Robin Zimmerman. We're bringing you our show from downtown Beaufort at the fantastic Pat Conroy Literary Center. And speaking of literary, books, novels, we have an author, John Warley. We're so excited to have you. We're going to talk about your new book. Welcome to North of the Broad. But first of all, I want to hear about you and your background. You were at the Citadel with Pat Conroy, law school, writer. Tell us about it.
Robin, I'm delighted to be here. Pat and I were classmates at the Citadel, class of 1967. And our real friendship was formed on the baseball team when we played together in the spring of 1966. Okay. And it went from there. We were friends for 50 years and till Pat left us, and I miss him. So,
yes. Been good friends.
Great friends, and quite an influence on my life and my work.
Mm-hmm. So you actually practiced law, but then there was this nag about writing that you wanted. There was some other urge you had you just came out of nowhere, or is it something you've been thinking about for a while?
Well, you know, in hindsight, you think maybe I have been thinking about it for a while, but I know in my mid-40s, it hit me as kind of an urge, as an alternative to the daily grind of a law practice. Yeah. And I just found fulfillment in it, a fulfillment I wasn't finding in the law. And so I pursued it. Of course, I have 4 children, lots of tuitions, bills to pay. So I couldn't abandon the law practice, and probably wouldn't have even if I could at that point. But I know I enjoyed the writing, and since I've left the law several years ago, I've devoted full time to it, and it's been very gratifying for me.
Now, this is your most recent book, The Home Guard.
Correct.
And this is an historical fiction, which is your first. Fiction. How is it doing, and how was it to write it?
It's doing great, I'm pleased to say, with some relief. I started the research in 2010, so it was a long time in gestation. But I think the time I spent on it paid off. The research was interesting. It's set in Beaufort during the Civil War, so very much a local connection. And I've just been delighted with reader response so far. It seems to be hitting a chord with a lot of people, and as a writer, it doesn't get any better than that.
So would you say of all the books you've written, this is your favorite?
Oh boy. Your favorite is probably always the last one you wrote. But I also have a book I'm very fond of called A Southern Girl, which was the first book published under Pat's imprint, the Story River Books. And so, and my first novel always has a special place in your heart. That was called Bethesda's Child. That was the one I wrote when I was heavily involved in the law. And so to produce that novel was a satisfying thing. So all of that makes for what I do.
Well, let's talk about the Rose Hill Authors Series coming up in September, on September 24th at Rose Hill Plantation. So how are you involved with that, John?
I am, I believe, half of the program with Rebecca Bruff. I am. With Rebecca Bruff, who's written a terrific book on Robert Small's Trouble the Water. And she and I are going to be in a dialogue about the Civil War era, the Reconstruction era, Robert Small's role in the community and the larger state of South Carolina. And I think it'll be a very interesting exchange. She and I have not done this anywhere, so we'll be flying new.
The seat of your pants.
Well, yes, that too.
Sort of.
Yeah, sort of. And so I'm looking forward to it.
So it'll be a luncheon, and then you all will be moderated like in a panel or something like that.
I think that's right, yeah. But mostly it will be, largely it'll be a back and forth discussion about some common themes that run through both of our books.
And it is in partnership with the Pat Conroy Literary Center and the Rose Hill Book Club, or
The Rose Hill Readers Book Club.
Perfect.
Yes.
Perfect. So that's very exciting. And your book will be available for sale there at the event, do you think?
For sure,
Okay.
absolutely, yes.
All right. So in our final time together, John, I'd like to know, here we are amidst Pat Conroy and his wonderful work, all the memorabilia and so forth here at the Literary Center. What did he teach you about writing? What did he teach you about life?
Well, the second part of that about life is a bigger and maybe more critical question. Writing is a very solitary thing at the end of the day. I don't know that people can teach you too much about the craft of writing itself. I have found you have to do it. Mm-hmm. So I don't credit Pat that much with the craft of writing, mm-hmm. but certainly in terms of relationship to readers, mm-hmm. Pat was an enormous guide and mentor there. Mm-hmm. And also he was there through a lot of my life events as I was there during a lot of his. Mm-hmm. And that has tremendous meaning to me. Mm-hmm. He was a great humanitarian and a great friend to have.
Right. Wonderful. John Warley, excited about the Rose Hill Author Series coming up September 24th. Excited about your new book, The Home Guard novel about the Civil War historical fiction. Thank you for being our guest, and we'll be right back with North of the Broad.